So now let's talk about theatrical releases and how, well, pretty much everything's going to be in jeopardy going forward. Now, what I'm talking about is when you start looking at next year, you start to realize that everything's going to pile on top of each other. And as it's actually already been kind of talked about in many articles and stuff, let's say a year from now, we're going back to theaters and stuff. They still got to do some things, right? Like, you can't just cram 500 people into 500 seats, right? Because they're going to have to be careful how they do that. So you're going to start running into a scenario where films are stepping all over each other and you can't sell out full theaters. Now, I've talked about MCU movies here. Our local theater never fills out unless it's a Star Wars opening and a Marvel Studios opening. That's the only time they literally fill out, and they have to open 2 to 3 additional screens on those weekends, and it's still full. We're not going to see that again for quite a bit of time. Like, it's not happening again.
Like, could you just imagine like limited seating in like a Marvel movie?
Right. That's.
I mean, I'd love it because like Sud being next to people in a cinema. My
Yeah,
actual worst
like,
nightmare.
like a capacity of like 500, but then they only allow like 120, 100
It's
to
his-
125 people.
Like, that's only like one problem solved. Like, it might have to be every like 3 seats, 'cause
Exactly.
2 meters or whatever it is. But people have got to then walk past each other, so you're not really doing anything. Like,
Yep.
you're negating having to be apart. So unless there's like, oh, once you're in, you can't move. Here's a little pee bag. Like, on top of that, you then got air conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Air conditioning circulates that around, so someone coughs.
Yep.
Like,
Again.
there was a thing like I literally just this week, I think it might be yesterday from recording it. 9 people from one cough in a restaurant got it because of air conditioning.
That's where we're at. And when I start thinking about it, I'm like, look, I've already said I'm not going back to theaters till it's been 3 months since we've gotten the go ahead and we haven't seen any spikes or anything. That's when I'm back in the theater. And I'm starting to see this, and I've seen some people talk about it that I've talked to as well. And I've talked to a friend who literally owns a theater chain. He's like, we have discussed this internally, and the problem is, let's say, hypothetically, I'm going to give you a hypothetical and just go with it. So, next year, we're going to watch, finally in October, we're going to watch The Batman. Okay, cool. You're limited out of a 500 seat maximum, you're limiting to 100 seats. That's fine. Guess what? That theater is losing money because they still have to pay staff, they got to sell the concession, and the reels they got that they make profit off of 40% of the box office will not be covered. So when I was talking to him, he was like, until it goes to 80% capacity, we don't think it's sustainable. And honestly, that's kind of the scenario you're in. So you're going to start to see, I think, films like, you're seeing with many now, like Scoob, for example. You have to go and take this and put it on a digital service, or go back to how it was in the 80s and 90s when they started going direct to video, because we can't compete with the big ones in theaters. I think you're going to start to see just big blockbusters release a year from now, and that's it. Like the smaller
Right.
mid-tier films, I don't think you see that in theaters anymore.
Would you have a blockbuster though? Because the entire point of a blockbuster is get as many people in as you can. If you can't do that, like if it's not sustainable for like theater and cinema chains,
like,
where do you show
like-
them?
Yep, that's a good point as well.
If you've got no, like they they have to survive this in the first place.
Yeah.
China's already lost like, 2,000 plus screens or like
Yep,
venues
because
out of 12. So.
I think like currently it's like most of the places are open, but people are not going to them.
Oh no, they're all closed, didn't they?
Oh,
They tried
well,
reopening them for a
apart-
bit,
apart
but
yeah,
from, like, the
that
drive-thrus.
that and some other places where like they are open. It was like restaurants and stuff where they're all open, but people are not going to them, and they're losing money constantly.
I mean, I also talked to somebody that was like, he was like, I would love a scenario where you have 2 to 3 weeks theatrical release and then put it for, on demand, buy it right now, $20 to $25, which we talked about it before. Trolls 2 my God, that movie made money. Like,
Yeah, it made half its budget.
and just think of
Like-
this: no theaters are taking a cut. The digital distributors are
Nope,
taking like 10%, and that's it. That movie's literally pure profit. Like, I can imagine in a scenario where once we start to see more, and I have a feeling unless Mulan gets delayed, that's gonna go on digital, and they're gonna make bank. I have a sneaky suspicion, man, that we're just gonna literally. I think theaters are slowly gonna be done for it. Like,
I'm saying I don't. It's hard because I don't think they're going to be done for. I think they're going to become the new comic book stores.
oh,
Probably.
yeah.
You're going to have like one in like every major city. You might have two some places. If you live out in the sticks, you're not going to have anything for miles. No, it's going to be stuff like that.
I know someone just asked what about was it drive-ins, and that one's up in the air because it has too many variables to it. I know some drive-ins are open kind of, but they have like strict rules where you cannot get out of your car because if anyone gets out of their car, they're shutting that place down.
We have a
Also,
drive-in,
that's not a thing. That's not a thing in the UK or anywhere else I'm aware of. So,
I know it's just talking primarily in the U.S. because we still have them. And they're open, but they're like under strict policies, and if they get one outbreak, they're all shutting down.
we have a drive-in like maybe a 5-minute drive from my house. Like literally there, I pass by like every other day, and I tell you right now, I hate the drive-ins for one particular reason that nobody follows any rule. Like people just pull up their pickup trucks. They have a fire right outside of it. There's 16 kids running around screaming during the entire time, and And honestly, they're not going to monitor that because the people want to go there so they can let their kids scream around while they bang in the back of a car. So,
Wow, it's like that's like very differently from like my local drive-in. Like everyone's either in their car, and like if they want food, they have the people will come with a tray, and they have to keep their door closed and their window like 1 inch open so they can slide out their debit card. They pay for it. They leave the food. The person leaves.
all the
they can
ones
get
in
their food.
New England are just rednecks everywhere letting their kids run around while they chug beer. That's it. I've been to so many of them. I'm like, this is the worst experience of my life.
Because the one near me, it's been constantly sold out, and there's like showing like old movies back to back. I think it's like 3 movies per day.
Damn.
And people have been following the rules so far, and I'm lucky for that. But like listening to your experiences, I'm like, wow, people really don't want to listen. Don't want to follow the rules. They want to do what they want to do.
See, this is another thing as well, right? Because a lot of people are like, oh, well, you just show old movies and try and get everyone back in. It's like, is that going to work?
No.
Re-releases don't bring in money as it is anyway. Look at Endgame. Like, admittedly, that was really close, but that only brought in like 10 million, if that.
Yeah, it's like
So-
basically at that point, like they're just making money off the concessions for the most part.
So, like, is that enough to bring people back in to kind of like retrain people to like go into a crowded room? And like, if it's not, then what happens? Like, if they're not going to see that, they're not going to see a new film, surely. Like, I know that there's obviously like, if anything, this is showing that people want to be in a theater and all that. But realistically, are you going to want to do it? Are you going to be allowed to do it? There's a question, because they're going to be the last places to open.
Oh God, yeah, they have to be, right?
No.
Like,
No, you got like over here they said like pubs and clubs aren't being opened until at least December. Well, you get more people in a cinema than you do a pub and a club. Far more people. So
it's honestly
that's at least next year. So
it's quite crazy, honestly. I'm not like you look at now. There's some news out there. It's like, oh, AMC, like the theaters being sued and stuff because they can't pay their rent and stuff. It's like, oh Jesus, like.
Which is a bit unfair. It's like, well, of course they can't pay their rent. Look what's going on.
Yep.
Like, just stop that for now. I know they've got to make money, but it's like, well, no one's making money, so you're not making it anyway. But I think the only way out for everything is if the studios start bailing chains out.
Mm-hmm.
But you then get to a point. I know, doesn't Sony already own AMC? Is that who owns?
I believe
I know
so.
someone
Yeah,
owns
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, because like there's that thing, that whole distribution, like you can't own a company that distributes or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. I want to say it's like an antitrust law or like monopoly thing, but I could be completely
That's
wrong.
okay.
on that.
Warner
Don't
Brothers
think
already
else.
controls 50% of internet. So.
AMC
And that's
theaters
kind
chain?
of why. Yeah.
It's no, it's acquired by Wanda Group, a Chinese conglomerate.
Or is it
Okay.
AMC that no, Sony owns the channel AMC, right? Something like that.
That might be what
I think that's what it is, yeah. Because The Walking Dead is their production and distribution, and
So scratch everything what I just said. But I still think like the only way they can make it out of it cleanly is if studios start bailing these people out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, can the studios afford to do that? Disney just had their credit rating devalued. It's at an A-, sure, it's still way higher than what AMC had for like triple C minus. But it's still, they're just hemorrhaging money right now. Can they really afford to do that?
Oh God, definitely not. But who knows what they're gonna try to
It's
do?
a giant crap show. Is the problem? It's one of those where you could spitball either side all day, and you're just as legitimate argument as the other person. But no. If everything goes all right and you get into next year, you've then got movies stacked on top of each other. No movie's going to make money next year.
Oh God, yeah, it's gonna
Gonna
be
be a battle royale.
yeah, legit.
Like, literally, and that's if the States actually pulls a finger out and
I mean,
gets past everything without a second peek.
I'm pretty safe saying that Marvel Studios will make some money, probably more than most. But even they're gonna be like,
I can see at least breaking even. I can't see any like significant form of profit.
I honestly, I don't think anything's gonna hit like $1 billion.
No. There's no chance.
Yeah, it's tough. It's real tough. I
No,
mean,
'cause it's like, then that's like just purely if they can get a movie out in a theater, and if they can have some people go in. Are people going to be able to afford to go in?
yeah, that too.
Like, because prices are going to hike. They're already talking about airline prices being jacked way up, so they're going to have to get like movie ticket prices are definitely going to go up. So no, the unemployment rate across the world is like silly record levels right now.
Damn, could you just imagine a $30 ticket just for a regular movie experience?
Well, I'm not regular, but that's an IMAX ticket over here.
That's why I said regular.
It's like, well, actually, yes, IMAX in London, 100% yes. Yeah. So no, IMAX is going to die, at least over here. I don't see the BFI lasting, but
Yeah, it's you just kind of run into interesting, like positions where we're not really aware of what's gonna happen anywhere now, and like the movie industry, they're literally just waiting, and a lot of these companies, movies were their bread and butter. Like it's
there's so like it's a very like draining topic, and because like I only focus on the negatives because expect the worst, hope for the best, really.
Right.
But like. When's the next movie? Like, when's the next new movie going to come out? Because you've only got a certain amount for this year, moving to next year. So, no,
like example, like the Batman, they shot a quarter of it. Like, are they going to be able to pick up production this year? They're hopeful, but question mark.
Is Shang-Chi going to finish? That comes out in May. It's a year off. They only got a third of the way through. I say only a third. They got a third of the way through that.
Right.
If they can't pick up production again, they can't finish that movie.
Just like to put this in perspective, for people, potentially people starving for something to watch or see. I think Michael Jordan's documentary, The Last Dance, the first 2 episodes that released on ESPN last week, they had a record viewing for that time. I think it was past 6.7 million people were watching it at that time.
And ESPN's been a dead channel.
Yeah.
No.
It shows you what people are missing and what they want new content.
Yeah. It's like people are desperate for it, but it's like you're gonna run out at this rate.
Right. So that's the situation we're in. Obviously, when there are major theatrical updates, we will be covering it because things are bound to change, or we're bound to know what the future outlook is. But for now, it's looking all right. It's looking just
and
all right.
know that even the studios don't have a clue what's going. Well,
totally.
Have a clue what's going on, or like even a clue of what to do.
Right.
Because why would Disney move Mulan to the summer? and then 2 weeks later moved everything around it to like the fall and next year.
Why was Warner Brothers stupid enough to give Wonder Woman an August release date? Like, why?
In fairness to Warner Bros., they did it earlier on when people are like, "Oh yeah, we're going to be out of it by August," which we still could be out of it by August. The way certain countries are going, the UK included, it's going to be difficult for August to have a flattened curve, and even then, if the peak does come right down, you're going to get a second peak.
Which then brings us like to the conversation we just had. How many people can you fit in a theater? Again, it's like all in a circle. Ugh.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question right there. Is like how many people can realistically they can get into theater seats without getting another outbreak, and then what happens if since they're saying that it is probably going to come back during the flu season again during the winter, they're just going to have to shut back down until the spring summer comes around again next year.
Because they're talking about over here for social distancing to actually be in effect well into 2021. So if that's the case, no one's going to a cinema whatsoever.
Right. Exactly.
So and the worldwide market being far bigger than a domestic market, not as important as a whole as the domestic market, but the worldwide needs the domestic market to be up and running. And if the domestic market's not up and running, you're not going to get anything worldwide. So what do? You put them on the streaming service.
Exactly. That's your solution.
You charge a single ticket price for a 48-hour rental, and you can make $50 million a day or over the weekend.
Legit. People just sit at home, can't do anything, and yeah, that was true. Exactly. Imagine if it's Mulan or a Black Widow. Oh my god!
See, this is what I know. There's the whole argument of piracy. It's a legitimate argument. Yes, fair enough, but the majority of people aren't pirates. If they were, movies wouldn't hit $1 billion whatsoever.
Look,
China wouldn't be a massive market whatsoever.
If you want to talk about piracy, then tell me why CD Projekt Red decided to not put any DRM into Witcher 3. You can literally download a pirated copy and run it just by opening the executable. No, nothing else needed. But the game sold through the roof because there was no DRM because they trusted the consumer. Again, it's just Ubisoft comes out, they're like, well, our game didn't sell well because of piracy. That's why. It's like, no, you put Denuvo in there, which literally breaks computers. Like, that's why it didn't sell on PC. Like, people pirate these things, then remove the DRM so the game is playable. Like, that's the nature of it. I think once we see one of these big movies, once it is forced to release and they see how much money it makes, they're going to be like, oh, so it's not an issue. It's like, fine, every million people buy it. They're going to be like, yeah, but 60,000 pirated it. Okay. Still, 1 million people bought it.
That's less than 1%.
Right. Okay. Cool. Exactly. Like, fine, whatever. Like, it's not going to be an issue. And I think you see that with, like HBO, for example. When Game of Thrones was at its peak for the 6th and 7th season, most pirated show ever, but you look at their subscriber numbers, most subscribers they've ever had. Again, people will pay if it's easy to get to it. Like, boot up Disney Plus. Oh, just click to buy it now to the card that's attached to my account. Done. I'll do it in an instant.
Yeah.
That's exactly
especially
how I do it.
Right now. Yeah. Parents are struggling. Not that I'm childless, thank God, because I couldn't deal with that, especially now. But imagine having a little ragrat run around and they can't go outside. That is literal nightmare, I imagine. So hey, what's going to shut them up for a couple of hours? Oh, bright flashy lights. I want to see the movie as well. I'll pay a third of what I would have paid at a cinema anyway.
Like, I've already decided Scoob is coming out. I was going to see that regardless. I am day one. I am buying that and just showing them I'm supporting this model. Because when Warner Brothers sees those numbers, they're going to go, well, I guess this is viable now. Like,
I mean, they'll be looking at Trolls because they're the only ones that actually say numbers. I'd be interested to see what Onward did, because they did that in an interesting way where it's like, right, yes, it had a tactical release. It didn't make a lot because it had a really unfortunate timing. But it's like, right, it's on demand for a week. Next week, it's on Disney Plus. What did it make in that week? Because that was a $200 movie. Because animation ain't cheap. You can do it for cheap, but animation ain't cheap, especially Pixar movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
How much
Pixar.
did that make?
Well, if it would have
It's a
been a
big
better
question.
movie, probably would have made more. But
Oh,
it's,
well, I mean, I can't say because it's not out here yet. So,
but
thank you, Rona. You stopped me from.
so that was our extensive talk on the Hollywood industry and current expectations.